The Miami Dolphins and Vic Fangio just announced that they're parting ways. Now, this came to a surprise to many, including myself. Now, I had a small suspicion just because of Mike McDaniel not being committal at his end of season press conference, but I still didn't really think it was going to happen. But nonetheless, here we are, and it is official. Vic Fangio and the Dolphins have parted ways. Now, I'm going to break down what that means for the Miami Dolphins. Now, losing Vic Fangio does suck. He's obviously a proven, very good defensive coordinator. And the biggest thing that I think hurts is the lack of continuity within scheme. Now, the Dolphins are about to go into their third defense in 3 years. Unless you kind of pick up where you left off with this defense and hire somebody within this coaching tree, whether it be Ronaldo Hill, who's our secondaries coach, Brandon Staley, who I know has a bad rep because of his head coaching tenure, but DC of the Rams, he did a tremendous job, obviously has familiarity with Vic Fangio's scheme and Jalen Ramsey, so he would fit right in and be able to pick up the defense. Not saying he'd run it as well, Vic Fangio. It would probably be a little different. Or another person, and my favorite candidate, Anthony Campanelli, linebackers coach. We all know from Hard Knocks, he's absolutely electric, a great leader. And I like him because he started with Brian Flores. And Brian Flores ran a completely different defense than Vic Fangio. And I think a good sign of a coach is when they survive coaching turnover. And not only did he survive a head coaching change, I also survived defensive coordinator changes. So I think that just goes to show how good of a coach he is. And then if he can marry the combination of a little bit of Brian Flores with a little bit of Vic Fangio all into one, I think the sky's the limit for Campanelli. Obviously, I'm a fellow New Jerseyan. I love his accent. I love what he's about. Like I said, his Hard Knock speeches got me fired up. And I just think he's a tremendous coach. So I would love to see him get promoted from within. You still have continuity with the players and the scheme. And maybe take a little bit from Flores, take a little bit of Fangio, marry that together, and you have a badass defensive coordinator. So those are my thoughts. I'm going to have future videos breaking down all of the coordinators and more extensive. I'm more so here to talk about the Fangio and the Dolphins thing. It obviously didn't seem to work. Obviously, Fangio's very old school. McDaniel's very new school, cracks jokes. So right there could be a little bit of clashing, even with some personnel moves. You heard Fangio mention that Greer never really asked him. Not that he necessarily has to, but you'd think you'd like to get insight from a guy who scheme is being run at a very high level. So you can see maybe a little bit of beef there. And then even just from the initial hiring process, when the Dolphins hired Vic Fangio, it wasn't fully announced, and then it went days of silence, and then it became official, but he was going to go with the Eagles. And there was a lot of things there. Even when he was asked about it after he signed with the Dolphins, if he'd end up with the Eagles, had the whole Jonathan Gannon thing not happen, he said maybe. So he definitely didn't deny it, and definitely was something that I think played a factor. I think his agent jumped the gun on signing with Miami because his agent is also Mike McDaniel's agent, and Mike McDaniel and his agent are like best friends. So I think his agent probably jumped the gun wanting to get McDaniel a good DC, and kind of just from the jump it was a little murky. So like I said, I'd like to hope we have continuity, whether it's Campanelli or someone outside of the building, if it's Staley or someone who can run this defense at a high level. Because that's the thing. If you run this defense at a poor level, it is bad. It is very, very bad. We've seen it around the league. The Vikings just dealt with that before Flores, and you see it. If it's not run properly, it can get exposed. So a lot of question marks as to who our next defensive coordinator is. Some fun thoughts that I'll probably sprinkle in future videos as potential defensive coordinators. I mean, Bill Belichick / Steve Belichick are always out there. Mike Vrabel. There's a lot of good defensive minds available, and it should be interesting to see which route Mike McDaniel takes. And then just a little side note too, Cam Smith tweeted a little unlock emoji, so just going to show his not playing is probably due to how Vic Fangio felt about him, deserved or not, as well as in Mike McDaniel's statement release, he mentioned how he's committed to the development of players, and maybe, I don't think that's a slight at Fangio, I don't think he would do that, but in case it was, maybe you could correlate that to that. But that's all I've got. Comment down below your thoughts on this whole deal happening and who you'd like to see the Dolphins target as defensive coordinator. Appreciate you guys for watching, and until next time, I'll catch y'all.